Hi there, my name is Rose, and this video isn't about hate. It's about history, real world changing history that's been hidden, erased, and misrepresented for too long. Africans discovered Europe and ruled for over 700 years and taught the world more than most realize. Africa civilized Europe not once but twice. First through Kemet, ancient Egypt, then through Al Andalus, Moorish Spain. Africa was the mother of civilization long before Europe could even write its own name. We gave them light, education, medicine, architecture, mathematics, and knowledge, and many more. Then, centuries later, Europe came to Africa in ships. One ship famously known, Jesus, carrying chains and Christianity to enslave our people and destroy our civilizations, our buildings, our schools, houses, and cultural institutions. Today, we are going to talk and focus on the Moors, the black Africans who ruled Europe for over 700 years and civilized Europe for the second time. African civilizations like Congo, Mansa Musa, Mali Empire, Sudan, Egypt, Benin with its famous walls in Nigeria, Songhai Empire, and Sokoto, and later events like Berlin Conference and the Berlin Treaty, which shows how Europe didn't save Africa, but it took us million years back, which we will cover in another coming episode. When we talk about African history, people and schools often start with slavery, which makes it seem like Africans were savages and needed a savior, and that's completely false. Africans were highly advanced long before Europeans even arrived. Africa civilized Europe not once, but twice. Africans discovered Europe and ruled Europe for over 700 years. This video will be long, so grab your popcorn. By the end, you will have a decolonized perspective of Africa and its true place in the world history. Let's get into it. But first, Africa was never uncivilized. Africa was a continent of multiple thriving civilization long before Europe rose to power. Africa civilized Europe not once but twice. The first time it began with the Egyptians, the black Africans whose science, architecture, medicine, and philosophy laid the foundation of civilization itself. From the Nile Valley came the wisdom that shaped the ancient world. The Greeks, often called the fathers of Western civilization, were in truth students of Africa. They studied in Egypt. Philosophers like Pythagoras, Plato, and Solon learned from Egyptian priests and scholars. The Greeks took that knowledge, reinterpreted it, and passed it to Rome. But when the Roman Empire fell, Europe descended into the Dark Ages, over 500 years of chaos, ignorance, and lost knowledge. They forgot the science, the philosophy, and the light Africa had once given them. Then came the Moors, African scholars, builders, and astronomers from North and West Africa. They entered Spain, Europe in the 8th century and rekindled the flame of civilization for the second time. They brought back mathematics, architecture, libraries, and medicine, teaching Europe again how to live, think, and build. But today, let's focus and talk about the Moors. Now, who were the Moors? The word Moor comes from the Latin maurus, originally used for the Berbers people of North Africa. Over time, Europeans used the word Moor to describe any Muslim from North Africa or even black Africans, regardless of ethnicity or nationality. The Moors were a mix of people: the Berbers, indigenous North Africans, Arabs, and black Africans. They were not one nationality, but together they shaped European history for centuries. Please note this: Christianity and Islam did not exist in ancient African civilization like Egypt, Nubia, or Kush, and many others. These civilizations had their own spiritual systems long before the Abrahamic religions arrived. Ethiopia adopted Christianity in the 4th century CE, becoming one of the first Christian nations in Africa. Islam began in Arabia around 610 CE and spread rapidly across North Africa by the 7th and 8th centuries CE. So, the people who later became known as the Moors were originally indigenous Africans. Most Berbers and black Africans who adopted Islam after it spread to their regions in Africa. By the time they entered Europe, they were what? Muslim. Yes. But their roots were what? African. Perfect. Let's move on. The most African scholars and builders brought light literally and intellectually to Europe. They ruled Europe for nearly 800 years, building Al Andalus, a civilization famous for science, architecture, philosophy, and tolerance. Cities like Cordoba, Granada, and Seville became centers of learning with libraries, universities, and hospitals, while much of Europe remained in the so called Dark Ages. Street lights, running water, paved roads, sidewalks, public fountains, and swimming pools, libraries holding hundreds of thousands of books. Cordoba alone had over 600,000 volumes. Science, medicine, astronomy, mathematics, algebra, surgical tools, and medical texts by scholars like Al Zarawi, whose techniques are still used today. The magnetic compass making navigation and ocean exploration possible. Public baths and hygiene systems introducing soap made from olive oil and plant ash, teaching Europeans to bath daily, and education for everyone. Europe at the same time lived in unsanitary conditions, shared homes with animals, and had little understanding of public health. The Moors introduced cleanliness, hygiene, and structured urban life, reducing diseases and improving quality of life. When the Moors were eventually driven out in 1492, much of their knowledge was absorbed into European culture, sparking the Renaissance. Without them, the modern Western world might never have existed as we know it today. Let's be honest, Europe did not create civilization. Ancient Greece and Rome were consistently at war. They built their empires on bloodshed and conquest, not on enlightenment and knowledge. Civilization, true civilization began in Africa. From the Nile Valley, the world began writing. Hieroglyphs, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and the foundations of theology and philosophy. Even Europe's name Europa comes from a melanated queen of Phoenician origin named Europa. Africa taught Europe hygiene, not using urine to wash your mouth, but herbs and salt. Daily bathing, mathematics, science, and advanced architecture. But when Africa shared knowledge, Europe took it, rewrote it, and erased the teachers. And we expect them to teach us the truth. They brought guns, religion, diseases, and greed and called Africans savages and backwards. Our only crime was being open, welcoming, and willing to teach. We were not perfect, but we never invaded to steal land, destroy cultures, or make people hate themselves. Meanwhile, England is known for tea, yet has no tea trees. France holds some of the largest gold reserves, yet no single gold mine in sight. Italy is famous for coffee but grows no coffee beans. The last Moorish stronghold, the Kingdom of Granada, was ruled by Emir Mohammed VII. In January 1492, after a long siege, he surrendered to Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand II of Aragon, marking the official end of Muslim rule, the Moors, in Europe. After the surrender, promises of religious freedom were broken. Muslims were forced to convert or leave. Those who converted were called Moriscos, but were still distrusted. Between 1609 and 1614, the Moriscos were expelled entirely from Spain. Many fled to North Africa or the Ottoman Empire. Even though they were expelled, the Moors' influence never disappeared. Architecture like the Alhambra Palace and the Mezquita of Cordoba, science, medicine, and philosophy that helped spark the European Renaissance. This is not hate, this is history. History that was hidden but never lost. It's time to remember Africa taught the world what civilization really means. The Moors brought knowledge to Europe, and also remember Central, West, and Southern Africa civilization like Congo, Mali, Benin, Songhai, the Great Zimbabwe were thriving long before European colonization, which we'll discuss in another episode. And European discovery of Africa was never a gift, my people. It was distraction. Today we are lost, not because we lack power, but because we have been taught to forget who we are. Today we argue about who makes the best jollof rice, fighting each other. It's sad. When we choose to know, we begin to rise. When we unite, we begin to rebuild. Africa is history. Africa is civilization. Africa is power. Hi there, my name is Rose. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe and turn on post notifications and leave a heart for Africa in the comment sections. And also let me know what you want us to discuss next. Now, stay safe and take care. Mwah!
Subscribe to my channel.